The world abounds with unanswered enigmas that science cannot explain. Usually, these mysterious events are plagued with all kinds of theories and unanswered questions. But what is currently happening in Argentina has silenced the entire region. It is an unusual phenomenon rarely recorded on our planet, and it surpasses any logical reasoning. It makes no sense, it has no reasonable basis, it is a fact that surpasses the extraordinary and terrifies those who suffer it. Are you ready to know what it is all about? Then get ready to follow us through the provinces of the city of Tango and Matei to discover something that science did not believe possible. Although it may seem surprising to you, Argentina is a country that is quite familiar with UFO sightings. In its vast countryside and provinces, some unusual event is recorded every now and then, where witnesses claim to have seen the appearance of flying saucers or strange alien beings trying to capture their livestock. Of course, these stories manage to capture the attention of the media. But what has been happening for several decades is something simply inexplicable that keeps farmers and ranchers terrified. One of the most emblematic stories of recent times goes back to the story of Matthias, a man living in Buenos Aires who decided to visit his cousin Federico on the outskirts of the city, specifically in the countryside near the salt flats of La Vedriera. This was a frequent event. In Argentina, barbecues and family reunions occur practically every weekend. But what happened on that Sunday, not even science has been able to explain it. In the middle of the family meal, Matthias's cousin had to answer the phone with great difficulty. The laughter and jokes of the group prevented him from hearing the unusual news that his interlocutor was describing, but a few words were enough to leave him perplexed. Hanging up, Federico and his cousin set off for the scene. They went to a piece of land in an agricultural area where there was a water tank with a capacity of 60,000 liters. According to Federico, it had been filled the day before for the different tasks that would be carried out on Monday. But in less than 24 hours, it was completely empty. However, in the area around the tank, there was no sign of water leaks, wet soil, or any evidence of water extraction. Farmers in the area also didn't see any strangers loitering in the vicinity, nor were there any vehicles in the area. In addition, the tank was emptied in record time as it was designed to drain its capacity slowly, so it was impossible to do it in less than 10 hours. Everything was strange and inexplicable. The 60,000 liters of water had disappeared, and there was no way to explain it. Federico and Matthias went back home completely demoralized and very confused. No matter how much they thought about an explanation, there was no way to understand what had happened. But before going to sleep, they decided to return to the area to continue investigating. When they arrived, everything became even stranger. In front of them, inside the tank, the 60,000 liters of water were there again. How was that possible? Nothing made sense. Both were horrified and full of doubts and questions that no one has been able to answer so far. At least 20 cases like this one have been recorded between 2002 and 2011. Some unknown force has caused the disappearances, and many people do not hesitate to relate it to the frequent sightings of UFOs in the Argentine fields. In fact, one of the most recent UFO sightings was reported by a farmer named Luis who visited the province of Entre Rios on a Saturday morning. The man was accompanied by his son Guillermo and the owner of the rural establishment El Rancho. The meeting was not unusual. Being the owner of a potato stand in the Fisherton sewing market, Luis had great friendships in the area that helped him to supply his business. However, the meeting that day took a long time and night fell. They had parked about 23 kilometers from the federal town. Luis and his son were unloading some packages from the vehicle when a strange light stopped them. It was blindingly white and emerged in the darkness as if it were a huge beacon. At first, none of them detected any danger. Despite the unexpected presence of that blinding flash, there was no reason for concern. Slowly, however, the light drew closer. Everyone began to feel an oppressive heat, and the closer it approached them, the greater the danger seemed to be. The most curious thing is that when it was close enough, they discovered that it was not coming from a car, not even from the ground. The light was coming from the sky. That was simply impossible, but what happened next stunned them. Less than 300 meters from Lewis and his son, there was a windmill and a water tank with a capacity of 125,000 liters. The light seemed to be attracted to it, and when it was just above it, the tank began to rise until it was suspended in the air. That's when they were able to decipher that the light was coming from a metal object shaped like an inverted saucer and filled with red, green, and gray lights that emitted no sound. The image was simply terrifying. Guillermo had a fit of hysteria and tried to reach for the shotgun they kept in the car, but Lewis stopped him. What was the point of trying to shoot something like that? They both remained in complete silence while the ship did its work. Then the tank descended into place, and seconds later it disappeared into the depths of the night. Father and son were perplexed by the scene. Was what they had seen real? How was it possible that an extraterrestrial spacecraft was in the Argentine province trying to steal a simple water tank? The questions multiplied as time went by, but when they managed to interview the owner of the affected farm, the man seemed to believe everything. Apparently, people in the area were used to such strange occurrences. In fact, there were a variety of similar testimonies. At night, they would fill huge tanks that were impossible to be emptied by human hands, and the next day they would appear completely empty. Other stories were also related to the abduction of cattle or even the massacre of cattle, as ranchers have registered a large number of cow murders with relative frequency and without any explanation. The animals are simply torn to pieces, with no one picking up the meat or caring about anything other than murder. Some researchers have wondered what accounts for these strange phenomena. Some believe that space is teeming with life and that the planets from which the aliens come are much older than ours. Therefore, resources have been consumed until pushing these civilizations to find a source of supply for their homes on Earth. However, this and many other theories are still considered a mere fanciful idea. Few can believe that such events occur on our planet. But even if they prefer to ignore it, ranchers, farmers, and countless others continue to record unexplained events that science still cannot explain. Will we ever get an answer? It is difficult to know. But if you enjoyed this video and would like to know everything that is hidden in space, you should join us to discover it in the following videos.